Alec is not just another coach. He is the guy medical students turn to when the future of their careers is on the line. He has already helped students jump from failing scores to the top of their class in as little as 2 weeks. In just 1 year, he built a YouTube channel that now drives 60% of his business. The challenge now is turning his YouTube wins into predictable business growth. This coaching session is all about building the systems that keep Alec's pipeline full of the right clients. If you've been here before, drop a hashtag Believe in the comments below so I can feature you here in a future video. And if you're new, welcome to Believe Nation, the only channel that helps you believe in yourself daily, one video at a time. Believe. We got Alec here from Mastermind. Great to have you here in Toronto.
Great to be here.
And looking forward to the update, what you're working on and how it can help. Give it to us.
So at last Mastermind, my big question was how to scale sales.
Yep.
So we'd had more leads than we could handle, in part because of what it is that we've been doing on YouTube. I'd say about maybe 60% of our leads are coming from YouTube now, maybe about 40% are coming from Instagram ads.
Okay.
We had a lot more leads than we could handle, and so we'd kind of scaled back ads, and then the big question was how do we sort of scale sales? So since that time, we've hired one closer who's completely ramped, who is taking sort of like full calendar calls. His close rate is pretty high. It's probably like mid 30s in terms of like close rate. We are currently ramping a second closer who is still, he's only taken like maybe 5 calls so far. And then we just hired a setter because now the question is between marketing and sales and fulfillment. For a while, the bottleneck was sales, and so now it's probably going to swing back to marketing and then probably fulfillment. That's kind of where we are right now. The question that I had for you is kind of like 2 questions now, right? Since sales has kind of been addressed, like for now, like obviously it's going to be an ongoing process, is now how to sort of increase the number of high-quality leads that we have, since we have more capacity for sales, and or how do we scale fulfillment? I'd probably lean more towards the how do we increase the number of high quality leads, since that I think dovetails very well with sort of Mastermind and things like that.
Yep.
But happy to hear your thoughts.
So where are we with, you said 60% of your content on YouTube is generating leads for the business?
Yeah, roughly about 60% of the leads that we have coming in for consultations is coming from, could probably be attributed to long form organic on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. And is it from them downloading a lead magnet? Is it them booking a call from you? Where are they going after the video?
Good question. We haven't really done anything in that regard. So our focus, because it's only been a little more than a year since we've had a YouTube channel. And so most of our intent for the last year-ish has just been to try to grow the channel. And so call to actions at the end are all about, sending them to another video. Mm-hmm. We don't really have we don't have much, if any, strategy around sort of driving YouTube traffic to do anything beyond just watching other videos. Okay.
So it's more and better. You can easily do more, but more is more work. Once you already have some traction going, how many videos are you making? What's your content calendar?
We, up until this point, have been doing 1 video a week.
Okay.
And so after last Mastermind, one of the biggest takeaways that I had was to just use what we're already doing. And so I actually haven't published a thought leadership type video in months, in part because I was in Korea for a while, and so I just wasn't able to, and in part because those videos are astronomically harder to do than to just record my coaching and then sort of make a title and then a thumbnail and a hook and sort of repackage that, since that's ultimately sort of the direction, not necessarily one-on-one coaching, but the coaching program that we have is the direction that we want people to take. That's more or less sort of what we've been doing. Because we've accumulated so much content, and especially since we just happen to have had some really successful people that have generously allowed us to record sort of some of their sessions. So we had one student who, they went from 230 to 262, which is kind of going from well below average to a really good score in about 2 weeks. And so she is, great on camera, very great kind of energy, mindset. And so she agreed to let us use her 4 coaching sessions as content. And so sort of those have actually done quite well. And it also helps the coaching. Oftentimes we're actually having people in the coaching program watch those videos as well, because a lot of the questions sort of come up similarly. So we're now going to push to do twice a week for those at a minimum.
Which doesn't require more time from you.
No.
It's just editing.
It's just editing.
Right.
And so I've got a member of our team who we spent a lot of time kind of working through like, okay, how do you make a good title? How do you, sort of write the hook? And then sort of having either generic or specific sort of outros. So it would link it to a different video. But he is essentially independent now, like pretty independent. And so all I have to do is maybe once or twice a week, like sit down and just record those things. And then I might tweak it a little bit.
What are you recording once a week?
Sorry, the intro.
Got it.
So like
okay.
the hook.
Yep.
Sort of based on the format that, that you've discussed. That's actually not too hard to do right now. Since there's, like everyone that comes into the coaching program, they have a 30-minute session with me, and we record that not unlike this. And so all of those, we don't use all of them, but some of them are actually, quite good from a like a coaching standpoint.
You're helping people pass a certain test. Mm-hmm. Are there any other buckets of people coming in that we can create here?
What do you mean?
Well, the goal is to help people pass this one specific test, right? We're not expanding beyond like, we're going to help you pass the LSAT or something else, right? We're staying on this one test. Okay. So then that is the outcome. We're going to help you get a good score on this test. Cool. When people are coming in, what can they see in themselves? Because the goal is the same, but their circumstances will be different. So what are the types, for example, already living in the US versus living overseas? There'll be two different kinds of people. So then the person, I'm assuming you help people who are overseas pass a test too, right? So somebody who's watching in Korea might then say, oh, well, that's fine, but everybody there is American, so they only help Americans, they don't help Koreans. But if you had a regular segment showing how you help international students, and whether there's any differences or not, maybe it's still the same process, the same X number of weeks, the same, right? All that's the same. But I see myself in the story of the person that you're having on. So are there buckets of types of people who are coming through the program that they would self-identify with?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I would say that there's, and I would even expand it a little bit further to say that even the tests that we help people with actually do vary. So there's probably, 6 different tests ultimately, like, or at least probably 3 major buckets of tests that we help people prepare for. So there's the USMLEs, which is sort of the bread and butter. There's the COMLEX, which is for DO students, which is like a slightly different kind of doctor, but essentially very similar. And then there are like shelf exams, which are like after every hospital rotation. So OB-GYN, like obstetrics or pediatrics, they have to take like a test after that sort of 4 to 8 week rotation.
Do we want to market all 3 of those, or is it one like a logical extension of the next?
They're all related. So like the score in one correlates very much with the score in others, but typically people's pain points, like if you're studying for step 1, like your focus is on step 1. Like, yes, it would be nice to also sort of work on step 2 at the same time, but generally you're focused on that exam. Shelf exams are a little different because the rotation tests kind of build up towards step 2, which they take sort of at the end of those.
A shelf exam, though, you can target a new client with that. It's not only for your existing clients who go to the next level.
Meaning like they're kind of a slightly different avatar?
So I guess the question is, like, if somebody's coming in, if I'm taking the shelf, that's not your bread and butter, the shelf exams, right? But it's something that we want to have more people coming through on. Can somebody who was interested in the shelf exam who've never heard of you sign up and take your program?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not only for people graduating from one to the next with you. We want to bring net new people in.
Correct.
Just for the shelf and just for the other one.
And we actually do. I mean, I would say that the majority, it kind of depends on the time of year. So like we just passed the major time that people are taking step 2. Before that was kind of the major time that people took step 1. And right now we're in the major time where people are taking shelf exams.
Got it.
So like
how much prep work is done in advance of them doing the test?
So for the students that are like really ahead of the game, I mean, we've had people join before they entered medical school.
Got it. But for most people?
For most people, it's probably on the order of months.
Like 3 months?
Yeah.
And for them to get a result?
Usually it depends on sort of like what they're coming in with. If their problem is knowledge, it takes longer, right? Because it's like 4 years worth of knowledge. But if their problem is sort of the way that they're reading questions, like I said, like we had one student who went from like might get rejected from a lot of programs automatically to like will automatically get interviews at a lot of programs because your score was so good in 2 weeks. So it really depends on the problem. But I'd say sort of minimum is 4 weeks is what we typically say.
And the main focus of the channel now, the direction is showing these coaching sessions as opposed to like Alec here, make a thought leadership video.
I mean, if you can help me to sort of lower the threshold of activation to making more thought leadership videos, like I'd be happy to discuss those ways. But I am confident that without much effort, because I'm just doing what I would normally do, it would not be that hard to, continue to do the interviews, right? The interviews that we're doing with, different people in the medical community, sort of the biz dev, and then doing
the coaching session. Low lift is great, especially if you have capacity. Like if you have capacity to grow there, you can add a second video, a third video, potentially a week without you having to do much. Like you sitting down recording hooks is pretty easy compared to doing an entire video.
Right.
So that's just, does your editor have capacity? Do you have enough avatars to fill the buckets? Normally I would say if you have 3 different buckets like that, then you have 3 pieces of content a week, 1 dedicated to each, and then your bonus biz dev when it happens, cool, you have that on the channel. There might be a case for you due to the seasonality of preemptively thinking about, okay, 4 months before the next season, because right now we just finished a season of shelf exams or whatever. Great, if nobody's thinking about it for 6 months, you making all this content is still valuable, it'll help in 6 months, but like you could drive revenue towards the other program. So that's something that might be worth testing. Does the views and attention on the videos have a seasonality to them? In which case you have a channel like, like channels that launch Christmas albums. You launch it at Christmas.
Right.
You don't need a Christmas song every week because nobody's going to pay attention until Christmas, right? If my exam is next week, I probably can't hire you or it's not going to be very valuable. I need to have 3 months prep or whatever. So we're backing out like an extra month or 2 in front of that so that we have the content coming up. So that might change your content calendar. Instead of just 3 buckets, you have it spaced out a little more around the seasonality of the content. But if you have enough of that content, now you may not be doing as many of the shelf versus the other ones, so you may not have as much of a pool to kind of pull from, but that is a good way to start thinking about the buckets of content, to start testing to see how well it's doing. The other is then based on the type of person coming in, right? The overseas student versus somebody who's already in the US. I don't know if there's other categories of people. Do I already come from an Ivy League school or am I coming from some unknown school? I don't know. Like, are there a few main avatars? Men, women, etc.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest ones are around like the kind of applicant. So if they go to a USMD school versus if they go to a USDO school versus if they are international. So like Caribbean, or if they're, which we call like a US IMG, meaning like I'm a US citizen or green card holder, but I went to school outside of the US. So those are typically people that go to the Caribbean, things like that. And then there's the non-US IMG, which is like I'm completely abroad. I don't have US citizenship and my med school. So, people that, went to school in the UK or India or things like that.
So if you can pair the 3 different types of tests with the 3 to 4 major types of people and make sure there's getting some mix of all of those in the content, then you have your content calendar going up. So every week you have ideally these 3 pieces of content of the 3 types of tests, but then you're rotating the types of people coming in. So there's more examples to share so I can see myself. Oh, he helps people from the Caribbean. Oh, that's cool. I didn't think he would be able to do that. But then I see an example of somebody who's doing it. It's great credibility for YouTube, but it also gives your setter and your sales team ammunition to be able to send off. Like, this person is just like you. Because people look for the differences. They look for why it's not going to work. It's not going to work for me because I'm from Korea, right? Like, right. Oh, it helps them. Okay, cool. Here's an example. And even though you know that you can help anybody, it's helpful for them to know that you've helped somebody like them. So each video becomes a sales tool for you from the channel, but also for your team to actually use in their follow-up.
So the ultimate goal is obviously, sales. What about because my guess is like my general impression is that the more sort of focused the video, the lower the views.
For sure.
Okay.
And a coaching video will get less views than a thought leadership video.
And I thought that too. Some of our coaching videos have actually been some of the best performing videos that we've had.
Great.
But to your point, they were much broader, right? So it was like targeting a particular theme that I know that people like. How do you review your practice test?
Yeah.
Very, very general theme.
Like if you did a motivation for studying video, it would blow up, but you get all the wrong people, right? You'd have people who care about studying, but studying anything, and motivation more than how to actually tactically do something, because so many people struggle with just the motivation to study.
And is this more of like an SEO type tactic? Because like what we found is that, so like for example, we just published a video that was very timely for this time of year, which is like it's a new system. It used to be when you applied to residency, you would just kind of like spray and pray. So you'd like apply to 100 different programs and they wouldn't know you from Adam. And now they have a system where it's called signaling, where it's like you say, you are my top 3. And then you are my top, 20, and then everything else is like not signaled. And so there's a lot of strategy now around that. Like it's a huge change in terms of how residency applications are done. It's kind of like, sending a note to someone in class saying like, I like you. Like it very much changes how it is that they respond to you and whether you're going to get an interview or not. So we just published that video like, I don't know, 5 hours ago, but it's like already, it's like the worst performing video in the last 10.
Yep.
And so is this more of like this is going to help with SEO in the future? Is this like
It's a what is the business outcome that we're trying to achieve, and then mapping a content strategy towards it. So the reason to go, if all you said is, hey, I want to sell more of these 3 tests that I'm ramping up, and I want to be known as the guy who can help people pass these 3 main buckets of tests, cool. Then it's a very narrow type of content that you're creating, and the purpose is to build your brand inside this niche and to fill the pipeline for your setters and your closers, right? Cool. Coaching sessions are a great way to do that. We can mix in some thought leadership stuff, but it's also figuring out the load on your time to make it happen. If you are like, no, I want to be known as the studying guy. I want to help people prep for any kind of test. We have to start going more broad. What is the business model then going to be around that? I want to have a book deal with Penguin Random House. We need to go more broad, right? Making a piece of content that might do well in SEO is always going to be a more broad thing. But if you don't have a business outcome tied to it, then what are we doing? Unless it's just to feed ego or vanity or whatever, which, hey, fair enough. It's like, I just want to get 1 million subscribers. Okay, you can just buy them too. I mean, you can do that if you really want to. So it's just trying to match the business strategy with the content strategy. So like if it's, I need to ramp up my business, then it's focusing on those 3 tests and doing the coaching videos. If I had to add into it, I'd say, okay, now that you're making the content, the lead magnet should be tailored to the 3 specific tests. And if you are getting people messaging you from your YouTube videos and then they visit your website and they find out, you'll get a lot more if you actually have a download for them to be able to start to build trust with them. When they go to the website, is there something they can download?
There is, yeah.
Got it. So now we embed that into YouTube video. So the CTA at the beginning is a hook, basically to watch the whole video. The CTA at the end is to go watch the next video. So keep those. But there's a CTA in the middle to get the free guide. So as you're doing the coaching session, you're not going to interrupt the video because it's just a coaching session of like, hey, pause there for a second. And everybody watching on YouTube, because you don't even know it's going to be a YouTube video. Right. So this would be then a pre-recorded YouTube interruption. Like, hey, if you really like what we're learning here, we have a free download on how to XYZ. There's a link. It's the first link in the description below. Absolutely free. Go check it out. And then you look down, you point down to it, and you get people to go click and download. And so then you start to track how many downloads are you getting for the different types of guides. And then with sophistication, you start thinking about, okay, is there a different kind of PDF that we can use? Which lead magnet? Just like if you're running ads, which ad is performing better? You're doing videos, which video is performing better? Which lead magnet is performing better? At the beginning, you do 3. I'm assuming you have 1 lead magnet for each one of the tests, or is there 1 lead magnet for the whole
thing? No, it's just 1 lead magnet for all.
Got it. So you put that in for now. Mm-hmm. As you get more sophisticated, we add layers to it. Like, what's the name of the lead magnet, or what do I get from it?
It's a 14-day mini course. So it's really just 14 days of content to help them to transform the way that they're studying and learning so that they can improve their score in a short period of time.
For any of the 3 tests?
Any of them.
Got it. And cool. So the generic one works, but then is there something more specific that maybe doesn't have to be a 14-day course? Like, is there a free cheat sheet? Can you put everything for the one test or the shelf exams? Is there anything? Can you put everything on one sheet that I can get as a free download?
Sure. And
so you start to split test those. So now you have nothing, right? So like more is, okay, you're going to go from 1 video a week to 3 videos a week, which without increasing your time that much to film a hook, it's like not that much work, assuming you have the content available from the coaching sessions. The better is we are doing a better job of having the 3 buckets targeted instead of just coaching sessions. And then we're putting in lead magnets in the middle of each video to start generating even more leads for the setters to call, or setter to call for now. The next better would be multiple lead magnets to test which one is doing better. But if you don't have those yet, like get started with the one you do have and then expand and create on top of that. That's all pretty like low lift. Yeah. For where you are. And it's actually great momentum since the last time where you were doing all the sales and now you have team and process. Content wise, the next level about that would be to do some kind of challenge with somebody, which becomes a heavier lift for you. But also like, here is this student and this student got whatever super low score. Can I take this person from here to here, right? Which is a fun challenge to watch. And you have the odds kind of stacked against you with whoever the student is. And you're going to put way more time and effort and energy into like helping this person than you normally would through your regular program. But can I coach this? Like, can you, not me, because I know zero, but like, could you coach an Evan Carmichael to get through and pass the test? Somebody who looks like it's a complete loss and you're going to have them actually get in. Those kinds of challenges do incredibly well, but it's a heavier lift. It's not a lift in terms of creating content and thinking about scripts and thought leadership stuff, but it's a lift in terms of actually doing, because you want them to succeed, right? Now, if they don't succeed, you don't have to ever post a video too, right? It's just like, I couldn't help this person. You know, we're not going to post that video. But that's another like super tried and true methodology. You see it in gaming a lot. You see it like take him from here to here. But again, it has to be fun. It's got to be something that you resonate with. It's a cool idea that could work, but if you don't like it, then that's not a good idea.
Could we do sort of, because I mean, I've never done one of those reality TV shows, but my impression of them is that they film everything and then they go back in time and then they'll just like sort of film it for sort of that sort of challenge like effect.
There's layers to it again. Like if you think about American Idol or whatever, the performance is the thing, but why are you so invested in the performance? Because you know the story.
Right.
So
I mean more like there are 2 people that I can think of in particular. They haven't taken one of them took their test. We don't know what their score was, but one of them hasn't taken their test yet. But we've recorded all of their sessions up until this point and haven't published any of those sessions. One of them basically purchased like a 10-hour package and we gave them a pretty big discount in order to do that. But they said that they would allow us to, publish it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then the other one retroactively agreed to publish, like the recordings. Could we sort of make those challenge type videos is sort of what I'm thinking is like sort of publish it. Like we know the outcome. Yeah. Right. But like go back and be like, this student is like, this student is starting with like a 230, right? Like, this student is starting with a blah, blah, blah,
Yeah. But you're kind of already doing that, no? In the videos, you're not necessarily saying it's a challenge, but this student went from here to here and like watch the coaching sessions?
Correct. Yeah. But I mean but we could change the hooks. In other words, like we could phrase it as like, over these 8 weeks, like I want to show you, like we're going to show you the, taking this student from blank to like, what is their final score?
And that's great. And like, yes, that's a mini evolution of what you're currently doing. And so yes. And the whole point of a challenge is the stakes connected to it, right? So like you don't know if it's going to work and you really hope it. So like when you're on the video, the first call, it's not just a regular coaching call. So you'd be like, okay, so you're at what? And we got to get you here. Oh my God. In how many weeks? Okay. So we see like you, not too stressed out, but the challenge is not just like how you're going to do it now and under that idea is you would present a different hook at the beginning of each video and say, but then the actual coaching session, there's no stakes. Apart from them being nervous, I guess, of doing the test, cool. Versus the actual coaching session would involve mentions of the challenge and the progress and how many weeks away they are and what you're trying to accomplish. It's not that you can't do it at the beginning. It's just forced, right? Where if it's actually part of it, and I want to feel your pressure to make this happen. And it's been played out a ton, right? I mean, I think of the the UFC show that they had, where they had like 2 UFC legends, and they had to train they they had proteges that they had to train up, and like you obviously want your protege to win, so you're going to work harder to try to, because it's your reputation on the line. Now there's real stakes in that somebody will lose, and it's getting published no matter what.
Right.
If it doesn't work out, you don't have to publish the video, right?
Right.
Unless there's a lesson, like here's why it didn't work out. The person quit because of whatever, or they sucked because of blank. And then, okay, it didn't work. Round 2, let's do it again. Like there could be a hero journey arc, but again, it's more work because you're going to, if you have stakes in it, you're going to be way more invested than your regular half-hour call or whatever. You're going to do bonus calls, bonus time, extra prep the day before. You're sweating for them. You know, he's like, oh my God, I spent 3 months making videos with them. That's the freaking work, man. Right? Like that is the pressure that adds to the excitement of watching a video. So now we're entering storytelling land, not just, okay, the results of going from here to here. A level up on top of that is also knowing why they even care. Like, why are they trying to pass this test? What does that mean for them? What's their story? What's their background? I wouldn't necessarily put that in the first version because that requires more of a producer hat and storytelling hat. Assuming the idea even is interesting. Because I think you would have, like, if you just did that, you have your 3 videos a week, each different buckets, and you're rotating the types of people who are showing up in the videos, and we're adding a lead magnet in for each one. I mean, at the beginning, it's just one for all of them, and then we're going to add in variety. You can start tracking how many lead magnets you get. You can start seeing which videos are generating leads as opposed to, yeah, our YouTube channels, I think 60% of our leads, people say they watch our videos and then hit our website. You'll have a lot more clarity that they came when they downloaded this cheat sheet, and maybe the one pager converts 3 times as much as a 14-day course. Like, but I spent freaking how long working this 14-day course? This one cheat sheet does it better, right? Like those things, as you're testing, will emerge. So that already I mean, that could just double your business. Just that, right? Where else do you go with content? Then it's okay. What do you want to do? What would be fun to do? What's like not work, right? So it might be thought leadership videos. But what has to change from what you were doing before to like what you're going to do now? It might be a challenge video. It might be, is there anything that you would love to scratch your creative itch doing?
I mean, ultimately, so there's sort of like short, medium, and then like long-term goals. Mm-hmm. So I would say, I guess I have kind of 2 questions. Well, there's sort of like, I'll answer that direct question, and then I've got a question of my own. So short, medium, I would say like certainly the business that we have. I think that there is a very long runway of sort of ways in which we can expand in order to help people. I think that, having the sort of marketing running, sort of like having a system for marketing, now having a system for sales, and we're working on basically creating a system for fulfillment. Mm-hmm. I mean, like all of those things, it's now like, instead of going 0 to 1, it's like now how to go from 1 to, whatever. Mm-hmm. I would say the long-term goal though, is that I would love to eventually expand into something else, into other kinds of exams. Mm-hmm. Probably the most logical ones would be sort of medicine, like still within medicine, mm-hmm. or possibly medicine adjacent. So like, for example, we've had people contact us and actually hire us for sort of specialty board exams. So, you still have to take tests even after you've gone into residency and you're like a full-time doctor. And you've got to take these tests once every 10 years. If you don't pass, then you might lose your job. You might get demoted. Like there's very real consequences, and you make a lot of money. So it's like you're willing to invest. Like there's a lot of money at stake.
Yeah, you have to pass this test.
You have to do this, right? You also have to pass these tests. Like we've had people who couldn't pass the test initially, and so they couldn't get a job. They couldn't so there's very real consequences. And so even though like virtually none of our content is around that, we still have people who will hire us because they're like, I mean, that sounds like my problem. Yeah. And like, I remember those tests.
Can you fulfill on that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So it's not it's a process that you're following, not necessarily like actual content.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like if you know how to learn things well, if you know how to have a system so that you never forget it, and you know how to read questions so that you can kind of get into the test writer's head, like
it just honestly depends on where you want this to go, because then that can become a kind of channel. It's a pure utility channel, and it's a bigger strategic thinking question of like, is it off your name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the channel is.
Yeah. If you fast forward in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, what do we want to become? Because if you want to be the guy for like every high-end test, It's you're either setting up multiple channels, or we're setting up a channel that people don't subscribe to. It's a utility channel. So it's like how to unclog a toilet kind of thing. It's the opposite, complete opposite. Like you don't subscribe to that channel.
Right.
You're just trying to solve a problem. So people will subscribe to you and watch videos for a while they really care about this thing. And then they pass it and they're like, I don't care. I don't care what Alec has to say anymore. Like I did that. That was before. Like I don't care about my LSATs anymore or whatever test. I've already passed it, right? Mm-hmm. So for like when you're studying for it, it's the most important thing in the world, and then it is 0. And so that kind of channel, we're not trying to build subscribership. We're not trying to build too many repeat viewers. It's a utility channel that serves a very valuable utility at the moment. And so then you have 50 different series for 50 different tests that you cover. Mm-hmm. It depends on where you're trying to take this thing. So you're saying, hey, I can help anybody pass the most complicated tests in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that might be an extreme. Well, yeah, that's a good question.
Well, if you take your methodology, like if you have a learning methodology, right?
Yeah.
That can be applied to anything.
Yeah.
So then
maybe not anything, but like most, like I would say principle-based science type exams.
Maybe.
So like even physics or chemistry.
But what about law?
Law would be probably harder, is my guess. Like there are some tests that I think that would be, it's less directly applicable. It works extremely well for, I mean, I think it could.
It's a thought exercise.
Right.
Because if you think about what is your unique value proposition, it's like we help people pass very technical, complex, high stakes tests. Right? Cool. Then what's the highest utility of that? What's the highest application of that? And you started with the thing that you know that you came from, but that might actually only be like a small, like your best value, your best application of that could be in something way different that you can apply if you just knew like what that test was. Right. It may not, and LSAT is just one that I know, but it's like, it doesn't have to be the thing. You might be able to skin your methodology pretty quickly for LSAT and like 10x your business.
Right.
So what are those complicated tests where there's high stakes, where people have a lot of money, where it is hard to pass? It's not like the entry level stuff, like people really need to be able to pass these tests, and you're applying a learning methodology towards it. Then the content strategy becomes either 50 different channels, one for each one, and you're just a coaching and content machine, which you'll need to have coaches underneath you teaching a methodology. And the coaching videos don't explain the methodology, you're just doing the methodology, right? So I can try to pick up from osmosis, but you're not breaking down how the coaching is working. So if I want the result, I can try to learn on my own, cool. But if I value my time, then I will pay you and your coaches to do it. Or you have 50 different series on the one channel, and you are just the expert on how to pass any of these tests.
Okay.
What you've done, I think, now is great. You started with what test you know, but if you're already getting pulled in these different directions, it's cool. Make some like if you had a 3rd series or that was a 4th series on some of these other random tests that you sprinkle in, you might be shocked that one of those becomes actually the biggest revenue opportunity for you, and the other ones are okay.
Yeah, okay.
It might be outside of medicine. It might be some crazy engineering thing. It might be something, I don't know.
But I would still coach them through it.
Yes, your coaching methodology, right? And like at the beginning, you would have to be the one to prove that it works.
Right.
I was talking to a world memory champion, and he was the typical, like, memorize a deck of cards, memorize like how many numbers in a row, yada, like that's easy stuff. He went on a Russian TV show and they asked him to memorize something like 300 eggs. An egg, it's like, tell the difference between these eggs and put them in the same order, and they shuffled up all the eggs, and then he had to put them back in the order of like these 300 eggs or whatever, like in the hundreds of eggs. Yeah. And he's like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, deck of cards, you have a methodology for it.
Right.
Eggs is like, how do you tell the difference between it? But he did it. He's like, oh, my methodology applies to eggs as well. So is there some crazy NASA test that people have to pass? Is there some, the citizenship test or whatever? Like, what could you apply it to that has high stakes, high dollar, that then you can roll out and then you make content around that. I mean, the easiest one is people who are already pulling you in that direction.
Right.
Can you help me with blank? Cool. So make content around that so that people can see. So if that's a forced series of just a bunch of random tests that you're doing, if you are making content around that, people say, oh, he does that. They won't be asking, they'll know. And when people are searching, they'll see you come up. And so you'll start to get business around it.
Right.
It's a question of like, who do you want to be? Because if you want to be that guy, my genius is not passing these 3 tests. My genius is passing any complex test. Then we go across as many tests as possible at a certain threshold of importance and revenue that can help the company grow. Or like, no, my genius is like, I really just help people pass these 3 tests and I'm just gonna keep getting better at that. But it sounds like your IP is actually a learning process more than a content problem. Right. So then like, what's the highest utility that you can apply it to? And it probably won't be the 3 tests that you're doing right now.
Yeah. How would I find, I mean, obviously if people ask me, so like the questions that we get asked for, you know, like, can you help me with X are typically either one step down or one step up.
Yep.
So one step down is the MCAT. So that's like the test that you take in order to get into med school.
Yep.
We get a lot of questions about that. The other question is like, can you help me with X of like, I'm already a doctor and I need to do this because if I don't, like, I'm going to get, you know, I'm going to lose my job or something like that. So we can directly help and already have clients for the next step up. I haven't really taken on the I've been asked to do MCAT, but it's been a long time since I've taken that test. And whereas I do think that the methodology would work, I just haven't really gone in that direction yet. There are many more people that take the MCAT than take the USMLEs. It's actually probably a comparable market, I would say. There's a lot more competition around it. The total market is larger, although because there's 3 tests, essentially for the USMLEs, the test that we help people with, if you actually look at the numbers, it's actually probably pretty similar since there's like, you know, people at different stages that are all taking like different tests.
It's just a question of is it worth thinking about over the next couple of days as we hear, like who do you want to be? Because you could go downstream and do MCAT and that's more mass market now, like the lower, okay, then it's SATs.
Right.
You can go all the way down there. Your methodology would work. And some people would pay a lot of money for it. Or you might need to have a group program that's even more group than what you have, an even more discounted version of what you have. Does that take away from the exclusivity? Like, are you going to be the Ferrari and only have certain production lines? Or are you going to also be Toyota and go down and have like mass consumption? Both could work. Your methodology could work. Do you want to build a machine around that? Because now you have more team, more close. Like you would need to even have a marketing system that doesn't rely on closers and setters because the cost is going to be like, it's not worth it for them to hop on a call for $500 or something. Do we want to be that or not? Or do we want to do high-end tests in medical plus anything else? And it's like, everything can work. What do you pull towards? Do you like the idea of doing MCAT and SAT? Or it's like, that's like, it's not that, like, you can convince yourself either way.
Right.
There's so much competition. Yeah, but my methodology is better. Like, where's the challenge? Versus, I want to take on the most complicated tests in the world. I want to take on the NASA engineering tests. I want to take on like whatever the craziest ones and just push the limits. All of it can work. It just changes the type of company that you build.
Right.
How much it's sales and selling people on the phone because it's high ticket, and how much is marketing because it's lower ticket and mass. And it changes the kind of business that you create, which then changes the type of content you make. So it's really deciding you're in a very fortunate position of what you've done and built. And even just what we talked about, doing the 3 series a week and doing the lead magnets, you can double your business. So, and again, a super like luxurious place to be. Cool, that's building. As we fast forward out, who do you want to be? And when you figure that out, then we're mapping a content strategy towards it. So you don't need to have an answer like right now, but over the next couple of days, we're thinking about it so we can map a strategy towards it.
Yeah, that's very helpful. So the general theme, I guess, that I'm getting sort of for all of this is like begin with the end in mind, right? So it's like, you know, start with
just like you're doing for your test. Like, what's the goal? I want to pass the test. Okay, I'm going to give you a structure to help you pass your test.
Right.
What is the equivalent for you? What do we want to accomplish? I think you already have your short term.
Yeah.
Like, that's fairly clear. 3 times a week, lead magnets, and then more lead magnets customized, and start split testing which one's doing better. Cool. Like, that's work. but not a ton of work, and it will do very well. It's the medium and long term that's less figured out, and really figure out the long term to figure out your medium term.
Okay.
Right? Like, who do you want to be? What kind of business do you want to run? What would be fun for you? Do you want to have a company of 20 closers that you're managing, and it's like, that's super awesome? Or would you rather have a marketing machine and having like 10,000 clients a year? Like, it's no right or wrong. It's like, what do you want to build?
Right.
And then we reverse engineer the content strategy from there.
Okay.
Well, for people who want to learn more about you, where are they going?
So my YouTube channel is Alec Palmerton MD. And then you can follow me. It's the same, I think, or similar handle for Instagram. And yeah, our website is yousmile.com, yousmle.com.
I love it. Thank you, Alec.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And congratulations, you're one video closer to who you're meant to be. Believe. To watch me coach another amazing entrepreneur, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there. Tommy spent years advising billionaire families on how to protect their wealth for generations. Now he wants to bring those same strategies to business owners and families